You're all children of fire. That was awesome, Dad. Thank you. Thank you. The theme for August 2021 is a pause for guidance. And the topic for today, and which I just love, sparking imagination. And our inspired passages today are first from Dr. Ernest Holmes, who shares this truth. You exist so that the divine feeling, fire, imagination, and creativity may be expressed through you. The Spirit comes to you with a new and fresh creativity. You need not ask what others have done or how they have done it. Just be yourself and express life as you find it. Woo! I know. I was practicing reading this, and every time I read it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so awesome. I love this. Thank you, Ernest. Secondly, from Albert Einstein, a classic, who valued imagination. Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. Yes. And finally, from Oprah Winfrey, we have this insight. You have to find what sparks a light in you so that you, in your own way, can illuminate the world. So let us speak this affirmation together with an open, imaginative heart. Together, my imagination grows my consciousness and expands my life now. Woo!
Love you too. Oh my goodness. So I have a question for you. Why wasn't the cat moving? Why wasn't the cat moving? Oh, take off my mask. Why wasn't the cat moving? Why wasn't the cat moving? You're pretty close. It was he was on pause. And you know, our theme this month is a pause for guidance. So, this month is about embracing this gift that we have of stopping in the midst of activity, pausing, breathing, letting go of the activity for a moment, and just coming back to center, coming back to the truth of who we are, to that thing called the relaxation response, to a state of calm and composure, so that we can allow the creative flow to move through us more freely and fully. So think about the things that happen when we do this. I mean, there are just so many things that happen, but we get refreshed, we get recharged, we fill our body with oxygen, so we oxygenate ourselves, we receive inspiration, we receive rest, guidance, but also, which is the focus for today, more creativity and innovative ideas. More creativity and innovative ideas. And so that brings us to our topic today, which is sparking imagination. So where I'd like to start with this is I'd like to read something from Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. It's on page 339 for those of you who are interested. And this is how he starts. It's called Loose the Consciousness, Loose. It is certain that none of us receive as much benefit from this teaching as we might. We do not permit our consciousness to, listen to this, Range in the field of greater possibilities. Range in the field of greater possibilities. You know, when I hear that, range in the field, I'm kind of imagining being out west and, you know, the cattle ranging in the field to get nourishment. And so as we range, as we roam, as we wander, as we nourish ourselves with new ideas in the field of greater possibilities, all kinds of things can happen. So I love that field of greater possibilities. You know, we often talk about the field of infinite potentiality and possibility. Somehow this has really sparked something in me. Just it's interesting how words do this. So ranging in the field of greater possibilities, that's what we're going to be talking about today. And, you know, he talks about taking a certain time every day to enlarge our consciousness in this way. So, are we going to range in the field of greater possibilities? Are we going to allow ourselves to continue to be triggered, having our imagination triggered by circumstances, by the stuff in the news, by how things look in our lives right now, the things that we would like to improve? So I'm trusting that by the time we're done, if you're not there yet, that you will be committed to ranging in the field of greater possibilities throughout your day, day after day after day. So ranging in the field, that's the first thing I'm going to be talking about. The next one is triggered or sparked, and then we'll be doing a spiritual practice to conclude. So the universal presence is forever imagining and reimagining itself in, through, and as each of you. Think about it. Imagining and reimagining itself in, through, and as each of you. Each of us extensions, expressions, individualizations of the one source, the one life, the one presence, the one power. So reimagining itself as your growth in consciousness, reimagining itself as your acts of compassion, reimagining itself as your explorations of greater love, reimagining itself as your adventures. Dan and I are headed off for an adventure this afternoon. We made reservations last fall to get the better prices on a plane to go to the SOAR conference in Banff, Alberta, Canada. And we just trusted that Canada would open its borders just in time for us to take our vacation. Well, we were actually going to go combination vacation and the SOAR conference. But the SOAR conference was canceled, and I was actually on it virtually these last couple of days. And we decided to go anyway. And does anybody know the details of this? August 9th is when Canada opened its borders. So, I mean, we had to jump through hoops, right, Dan, to to prove that we're COVID-free, taking taking a special test and getting it to the airlines on time and all of those other things that were necessary, but we're ready to go. So we held that in our imagination. We were ranging in the field of greater possibilities. We trusted, and the universal law supported that unfolding. And that's just one of many examples of the way things happen for us all the time, and we often don't even realize that's what we're doing. Every time we imagine something new that we'd like to do or try or be, there is a universal law that is automatically responding, and our role is just to get out of the way, to stop worrying, stop fussing, stop, hanging out in the realm of fear, and keep our vibrations and frequency in the vibrations of the Most High: love, peace, joy, gratitude, excitement, anticipation, high expectation. Let's breathe. I know that's a lot. I kind of got on a roll there. So imagination. Imagination is a key part of our creative nature. And therefore, it is one of our superpowers. So everybody go like this. Imagination is my superpower. And so all new creation, all new and different and exciting creation comes from imagination. We get to participate in this thing called creation because of who we are, individualizations of the one creator. So we must therefore regularly practice ranging in the field of greater possibilities. And we do this, we can support this not only through mindfully stopping throughout the day, but through the process of visioning and meditation. And I have found that over the years, practicing visioning and meditation has supported me at being more imaginative and creative in prayer. You know, when I'm doing prayer, it's fueled that creativity that continues to flow as I'm praying. So I'll start off praying, and I never know what's going to come out, but I just trust and I allow the flow to come through. That's allowing that's ranging in the field of greater possibilities and allowing it to spark imagination while you are moving through your life. So the next topic then is triggered or sparked. Triggered or sparked. So imagination, we know, can either serve us or it can undermine our dreams, our desires. It can undermine our well-being. And so, especially in these times, and I guess they're always, I think, as Carolyn said, they're always unprecedented times, right, Carolyn? It's part of being a human. There are always challenges. Trials and tribulations, I think, is what they call it in the Bible. It's part of the adventure on this planet. It's contrast, is what Abraham Hicks calls it. And so it's about being fully suited up in our superpowers, showing up every day with our superpowers, aware of our superpowers. It's really about suiting up is being aware of it, right? That just came to me. So being aware of who we are and the superpowers that we have of imagination and creation, and to not allow our imagination to get caught up in and triggered by circumstances. So you read about COVID, and so the mind can tend to go down this path of, oh, ain't it awful, and blah 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 blah. You can go down that path. Or you can begin to say, okay, this is a call for prayer. This is a call to use my imagination to imagine that we have reached herd immunity, that we are that this COVID experience has been a evolutionary driver, and it has sparked this grand, great awakening that has just gone all over the planet. Everybody's awake and aware and noticing how we're all interconnected and how beautiful this planet is and how much we must each take responsibility for keeping it, for cleaning it up, for once we clean it up, keeping it clean, and so on and so forth. You let your imagination go. And I know every time we pray, when I get together with my daughter or Candace or Carolyn or anybody, who's Mary, those people that I pray with fairly regularly, I am aware that the sparks of imagination are flying in all of us as we pray and calling forth this new earth and this new state of being. So we get to choose. Are we going to allow ourselves to be triggered? or I should allow our imaginations to be triggered or sparked by roaming in the field or ranging in the field of greater possibilities. So many of us, when we come in, imagination. I looked up imagination, a definition that was from our brothers and sisters in unity. Sometimes I look and see what they have as well. And they say that imagination is the ability to conceptualize and envision a different future. That reminds me of what Einstein said is imagination is the thing that lets us know what the coming attractions are on the planet. So many of us come into this teaching, let me get this out of the way. Into the science of mind, being in bondage to old beliefs and our imagination being in bondage to circumstances. We don't know it. All we know is that we're tired of being pushed by the pain, and we're ready to be inspired, uplifted, and find a new way. How many of you came into that teaching from that place? I know I did. I was looking for another way to be, to move through the world. And so I became enchanted with the idea that right here in the center of my being is the very presence of the divine, the creator itself, individualized as me, and that my words and my thoughts create. And therefore, I had to be very mindful about what they were creating throughout the day. And that there were ways to transform it and change it by learning this thing called spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer and visioning and things like that. And I loved this particular phrase, change your thinking, change your life. We just completed a class with 9 students who just took that class. Another way of looking at it is change your imagination, change your life. Imagination is a form of thinking, right? And so I found that if I truly practiced it, things began to transform in my life. And I've witnessed many, many others, because I've been doing this since 1990. I've witnessed many others whose lives have transformed in amazing ways. So this is a very practical spirituality that we have embraced here. And Holmes reinforced that by saying we must prove the principle. We must prove the principle. In other words, prove that when we use the principle of creation, that creative process through the power of our word, through the power of our thought, through ranging in the field of greater possibilities with our imagination, that we will get results. There will be results from that, good results. And that we can also watch the results when we spend too much time thinking about things we don't want. We can see the results there too. But the idea is to prove the principle, get tangible results. And that means a healthier, happier, more peaceful, more abundant life. An ability to put on our own mask first so that we can be in greater service to the planet. So our inner work then is to halt the pattern of being triggered by events into worst case scenarios in our imagination and to range in the field of greater possibilities, best case scenarios. We call this being a possibilitarian. So I'd like to illustrate with a story. This is an awesome story. This is a man who is a chef in Israel. His name is Yuri Yermias. And his life starts off in his childhood with him not doing very well in school. And so what he would do is he would spend hours in his boat on the Mediterranean because he lived in a little seaport called Acre. that is right on the water in the Mediterranean. They later found out that he was later diagnosed with ADHD. But at the time, this was many, many years ago, he was kicked out of school. He was kicked out of school when he was 16. And so what he did is he had the wanderlust. So he wandered all over, left his country, went to places like Greece and Italy and Switzerland and Germany and India and Nepal, and sampled the cultures, had the experience of the cultures and the food of these different places. And so when he returned to Acre, to Israel, he cooked these amazing fish dishes for his friends and family, and they said, this is so delicious and so amazing, because he was combining all these different spices from all these different countries and all the ideas that he'd gotten. They said, you've got to open a restaurant. So he opened a restaurant. And a very open-minded, open-hearted man, he hired, and he actually lived in an area where the Arabs and the Jews get along. People from the Muslim and the Christian and the Jewish tradition get along in this little city of Acre. And so he continued to work with people, his staff, his clientele, and then he had international clientele because he became internationally known, and life was just going so well. And then March 11th, there were a lot of uprisings in Israel and various cities, and rioters came in and torched his not only his restaurant, but he had a small hotel at the same time, torched those. And this was his response. Listen to this. He said, "The damage is great, but I am not angry. Anger inhibits. There are good people in Acre who have come to lend a hand. We will renovate and reopen. Nothing will break me." A man that lives in the field of greater possibilities and did not allow himself to go down the path of despair. So sparking the imagination for greater good is the next thing I want to talk about. And it just reminds me of that beautiful quote by Oprah Winfrey, where she said, you have to find what sparks a light in you so that you, in your own way, can illuminate the world. When we range regularly in the field of greater possibilities, and we also interface with the world, because we don't want to cut ourselves off, but we want to know what's going on and then bring our gifts in service to whatever is happening. So I'd like to tell you a story. Well, first of all, I'd like you to listen to one particular sentence that's out of the CSL Global Vision. So this is about imagination for the greater good. So close your eyes for a moment and breathe. And this is what it says. And do this with me. Let's envision a world which has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, love, through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. Okay, you can open your eyes now. So did you find yourself ranging in the field of greater possibilities with that vision? So I'd like to use an example of this, an artist, an environmental activist, whose name is Claire Celeste. Claire Celeste is doing just that. She is using the arts to co-create a better world, to wake people up. She's using her art to spark our imaginations of all who witness it by raising our awareness to the exquisite beauty of nature and biodiversity, the biodiversity of nature. She was brought up in Brazil and experienced the rainforests of the Amazon and the beauty and the amazing variety of animals and plants. And so her artwork, she cuts out of paper all of these images and creates what she calls art installations. Dan's probably showing you a few of them right now, right? And then she uses them in a very dramatic way. And there's a video on her website I highly recommend that you watch, because she'll use it in a very dramatic way to wake people up to what's happening in not only the rainforest, but in other parts of the world because of climate change, in order to spark our imagination of what we can do to change things. And of course, she partners with those who are supporting a biodiverse future powered by 100% renewable energy. I am so inspired by the creativity of people like Claire Celeste, who are using their gifts and talents to serve the greater good. So let's, in conclusion, I'd like us to use our imagination to preview the life's coming attractions in a really good way, okay? And so on that page 339 of Living the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes gives us a practice, and you're going to recognize this one because we do this from time to time. He said that to repeat this particular prayer 100 times a day. So I've memorized it so that I can do the whole thing over and over when I choose. And I did it for a period of time. And it's very powerful. So I'd like you to close your eyes. We're going to range in the field of greater possibilities right now. So we close our eyes and breathe. And then repeat after me. Good and more good is mine. Now pause and imagine greater good in your life. And repeat after me. An ever increasing good is mine. What does it feel to experience increasing good day after day? The next one. There is no limit to the good that is mine. So just imagine yourself ranging in the field of greater possibilities, and it's infinite. There's always something new, some new greater good. And we continue. Everywhere I go, I see the good. I feel it. I experience it. So experience the good with all of your senses. Feeling, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, hearing. And so let's continue. Good presses itself against me. Flows through me. Expresses itself in me. And multiplies itself around me. So now just imagine that creative flow not only supporting the good in your life, but it says all around me, so all over the planet. So this amazing creative flow of good, love, peace, joy, light coming from you and going all over the planet. And I imagine it like a tsunami wave of light and love and gratitude and peace going all over the planet, touching everyone, turning on everybody's lights, and then flowing back to me like this huge tsunami wave, and then flowing, so this beautiful flow back and forth. And so just giving thanks for this opportunity to spark the imagination, to range in the field of infinite possibilities, greater possibilities, knowing that we are here to be the presence of love, co-creating heaven on earth, a world that works for all, and for this I give my thanks. And so let's stand and say, yes! Yes. And so it is. Thank you, my friends. Woo!